40 years old. I've had a great life. God has been unbelievably good, unbelievably kind. That might not seem like a statement you would agree with. You might think I'm crazy once you hear parts of my story, but I promise it's true. I have seen the goodness of God through the storm. Nearly 7 years ago, right after the last big eclipse that we had in 2017, I was mowing the yard, a job that normally takes me about an hour. There's not much to do, it's push mowing, no big deal. But that day, it was a big deal. I struggled hard with it. I kept having to stop every 5 to 10 minutes. I thought that I was having a heart attack. I was only 33 years old, so that definitely couldn't be a heart attack, right? Things don't happen to people like that. I got cooled down, finished off the evening, went to bed, and then I drove to work the next morning because I was working away from the house that day. And I had a plan. You see, the place that I was working had a quick care place in the same parking lot. So at lunch, I could just go over there and shut everybody up. You see, I had not felt good in nearly a year. I was bruising. I was having nosebleeds every day. I would come home and fall asleep on the couch at like 3 or 4 o'clock. It was not good, but you know, I was fine. I'm 33 years old, got a successful business, got a great family. Things are going to be okay. I didn't need to go to the doctor. I didn't have time to go to the doctor. But that day, I went to the doctor because I needed to shut my parents up. I needed to shut my wife up. I needed them to know that I was okay. You know, some of you smarter people probably know where this story is heading. What with the bruises and the nosebleeds and all that. I didn't think that that was any big deal. I didn't realize my body was crying out for help. So that day at lunch, I went to a quick care place and I told them the list of my problems. They were like, you shouldn't be at a quick care place. This is stuff to, you know, handle with your regular doctor. I said, I don't go to the doctor. But they went ahead, they drew some blood just to make sure, because, you know, they're not gonna do nothing. After they left the room, I even took a picture of my arm bandage and sent it to Shannon and tell her, you know, I'm just trying to make everybody, you know, feel better and letting you know that I'm gonna be okay. They just took some blood, all good. And then right after I sent that text message, the doctor walked back in. You see, the blood had clotted in the test tube. I didn't know what that meant, no big deal, thought it was a fluke. They took some more blood. And a few minutes later, they come back in the room and they had run the tests. They had gotten that blood to work. My white count was 180,000. I didn't know what that meant. I knew surely it didn't sound good. I could tell by the look on her face that it wasn't great, but that's a lot. Normal range is like 2 to 8,000. Not okay. They said, we can't help you here. You've got to go to the emergency room. Okay? So I said, I'll go pick my wife up and we'll head over there. She said, no, you've got to go to the emergency room right now. By this point, I'm scared out of my mind. I got to the ER. My wife met me there a few minutes later. They like immediately got me back, which I don't know if you've ever been to the ER, but that's not normal. They immediately put me in an emergency room and they started running tests. I had chest scans, I had blood work done. I had no clue what was going on. I waited in that ER room for what seemed like forever, waiting on news that I wasn't gonna get there. It just sitting there, scared out of my mind, wondering how this could be happening to me. This kind of stuff happens to other people, but this was happening to me. That's a feeling I will never forget. They finally got me into a room and got me settled down, got me to sleep. I was sleeping good, got woke up in the middle of the night at like 3 o'clock in the morning by a doctor. telling me, "It looks like you might have leukemia, but don't worry. It's not the bad leukemia. It's chronic lymphoblastic leukemia. It's something that, people get and they die with something else in old age. Just something that has to be treated. It's gonna be okay." He said that the only thing was that it was odd that I was so young and getting CLL. It's an older person's disease. He said that the next day they would run a scope down my throat and look at some things that looked a little suspicious in my chest. And then after that, sometime that week, they would do a bone marrow biopsy just to see exactly what kind of leukemia it was and make sure that it was CLL. But you rest, you go to sleep, it's gonna be okay. You're going to live. Well, that's a lot to process at any time of the day, much less 3 o'clock in the morning. But I tried to go back to sleep, couldn't go back to sleep. Finally, that morning, they wheeled me out, went into the surgery room to have a scope put down my throat to get checked out, knowing, that it's probably fine, no big deal. It's gonna have a sore throat, but other than that, nothing. And then later that week, they would do a bone marrow biopsy, like I said. I woke up back in my room with a doctor standing there. He said that what they saw in the scope didn't look good and they were gonna have to go ahead and do the biopsy now, right now. And not only that, I had a mass around my aortic valve. So in all likelihood, if I had kept mowing that day, I probably would have had a stroke and died. So it's really good that I didn't keep mowing. So I'm freaking out a bit. It was supposed to be in a few days. I'm not supposed to see this guy in the daytime. I beg for some Valium or something that will make me not care about them shoving a giant thick needle into my hip to pull out bone fragments. Mind you, the day before I didn't even really know what leukemia was. And now I'm having a biopsy and it hurt. Oh, it hurt. They really should put people to sleep for this kind of thing, but they don't. He said that, he would be back in the middle of the night with the results and just try to rest and you're probably gonna be fine. Came back an hour later. I was not fine. I did not have chronic lymphoblastic leukemia. I had acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Acute. Acute is a bad word when it comes to sickness. It means that it's happening for real and you've got to fix it right now. The prognosis, not good. Not good. Didn't know much yet, but not good. I asked the doctor, am I still going to be okay? Am I still going to live? The look he gave me is ingrained in my brain forever. He didn't say no, didn't say yes. He just looked at me. He couldn't say it. ALL is a pretty serious disease. It's usually curable in children. I think 90% cure rate. So that's positive. But when you get it as an adult, it's not 90% cure rate. It's bad. It's real bad. And it moves fast. It's a vicious form of cancer. Your white blood cells, which are supposed to, heal your body, are attacking your body. It's crazy. And unfortunately, here in this little town, they don't treat ALL in the hospitals. They can't treat ALL in the hospitals there. It's not big enough. They don't have the stuff to do it. And so he made arrangements for me to head to MD Anderson in Houston. I knew all about MD Anderson. Knew it was a great hospital. Never wanted to go there, but man, I was glad I was going to MD Anderson. Then the hurricane hit. The hurricane came earlier than expected, and it would not have been safe to fly a helicopter there. And even if they could fly a helicopter there, my wife wouldn't be able to come with me. She would have to drive there later in the week. Who knows if the city would be flooded? And it did end up being flooded. I think the first floor of MD Anderson got flooded even. I would have to be there alone. It was gonna be okay. I was gonna be put on a clinical trial there, but not a great circumstance, and I definitely didn't want to do it alone. The helicopter finally refused to even fly me in there because it wasn't gonna be safe. So he started making other arrangements. They knew that they'd have to buy me some more time, so they started pumping me full of steroids. He said, "This will give you months." Like that was a good thing. Months? I'm 33. He said, "We're trying to get you somewhere else." They start checking all of the major hospitals, like in Dallas and the surrounding areas. Everybody's full. They had to move people out of Houston because of the hurricane. And so, of course, they moved them to the next biggest city. There's no beds. I can't go to Dallas. So he starts looking out of state. Calls everywhere. Finally, he called UAMS in Little Rock. University of Arkansas Medical Science. Another great hospital. I didn't know how great, but another great hospital. And hey, it was in Little Rock. I have family in Little Rock. Gonna be perfect. Shannon could drive to Little Rock very easily. No big deal. I had some peace. Unexplainable peace. It was gonna be okay. I was gonna be okay. Very serious, very much not okay, but I had just some peace that passes understanding. I was going to be fine. I knew I was. It's not my time. It is not my time. They drove me in an ambulance to Little Rock, maybe an hour and a half, 2-hour drive. And I texted the whole way. My spirits were good. I was on Facebook, was catching up with people. I was writing Facebook posts, trying to encourage others and let them know that I was gonna be fine. I was in very good spirits. And that's not like me, at least not the before me, but I was in very good spirits. When we got to the hospital, they wheeled me into my new room, and my sister-in-law and brother-in-law were sitting there waiting on me, crying. And I said, "Don't do that in here." I said, "I'm going to be okay, and we're not going to be crying." We left our 3 kids, an 11-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 5-year-old in Texarkana. When Shannon got in the room, the medical team came in. And they said, "You guys are going to be here for about 28 days. We had no clue that we were going to be there that long. But okay, we're in this. We got to fix this. 28 days it is.